This is Gemara Sanhedrin Daf Mem. We like all the learning to be an incredible schos refuah shalema for Tinoig ben Miriam Ahuva b'siyata d'shmaya b'soich shar chayli Yisrael. We should see a complete refuah shalema b'karayv, and we pick it up from the Mishnah on the bottom of Mem Dalit Amid Beis in the middle of our discussion of skila. Says the Mishnah, if someone is far from the Beis HaSkila, person who's going to be killed, 4 amois, mavshitin oisayes begadav, they remove his clothing. Ha'ish mechasen oisay milfanav. If it's a male being stoned, we cover him from the front. Ve'aisha, if it's a woman, milfana me'achareh, we cover her from the front and the back. Divi Rabbi Yehuda. Chachamim oimrim, ha'ish niskal arum, ve'ina isha niskelet aruma. The Chachamim argue, and they say no. This din that the skila is performed on one undress is a din specifically, say Chazal, by a male. But when it comes to a woman, say the Chachamim, no, a woman is stoned while clothed. And we move over to Memhei Amid Aleph, says the Gemara, Tanu Rabbanan, Ha'ish mechasin Isai, Perek Echad milfanav, Va'isha Shnei Parakim. Says the Gemara, Braisa, elaborating as always on the din of the Mishnah, says the Braisa, Ha'ish, a man, is mechasin Isai, we cover him, Perek Echad, we cover him one part, literally one piece, referring to the material, or as if you look at Rashi in the top line, he says, we cover him a little bit in the front. So the Gemara elaborating that the covering that we're referring to, a male in the front, a woman in the front and the back, is a small covering, just specifically to cover the base erva of the man and the base erva on the woman. What's the reason? It says Rabbi Yehuda, cause a woman is kulai erva, is all erva, meaning you could see from the front, you could see from the back, and therefore she has to be covered on both sides. My time of the Rabbanan, asks the Gemara. Amar Cross says the pasuk, Viragmu oisai. They should stone him. My oisai, ilem oisai v'loisa. If you're gonna tell me that the din, the whole din of skila is by a man, not a woman. Vaksiv the pasuk is vayitzeis eso ishahu oi eso ishahi. So we see that din of skila certainly applies to a woman. Elamai oisai. So what does the pasuk mean? V'gamu oisai, says the Gemara, oisai b'lai ksusai, that the din that the skila is performed b'lai ksusai, that is a din specifically by the oisai, by the male. Whereas ha'isa, say the Chachamim, if a woman is being stoned, if a woman is chayiv skila bechsusa, she will indeed be dressed. That is the makar of the Chachamim. Rav Yehuda, who argues, says, if Yehuda Aimer 10 lines down, Aisai b'loi ksusai, loi shna ish, b'loi shna isha. Say the Rav Yehuda, no. The word Aisai means we stone him without his clothing. The clothing is not stoned, and that's a din, both by man and by woman, says Rav Yehuda. Continues the Gemara, Lemeimra. This seems to say the Rabbanan Chayshi Lerura. Rabbi Yehuda Chayshi Lerura. Says the Gemara would seem that at the crux of this machlekes Rabbi Yehuda and the Chachamim is at what level we're Chayshish Lerura. And if we look at Rashi 4 lines down, Rashi spells out what's the Lerura, of course. Shemi'itnu ba'inayam v'yavayu lideir. That maybe someone's going to look at this woman undressed and they're going to come to have inappropriate thoughts. And Rashi continues to explain that the live time of, not for this reason, Nehid Rabbanan lo yitzrucha kralav shita neved la anan kadesha tamas mayer. So Rashi points out that included in this question is a depth to the kasha of the Gemara, that even if there wasn't a necessity, a din to remove her clothing. But either way, we would want to. Why? Because halacha is we want someone to be the most painless death. We want the skila to happen as quickly as possible. So says the Gemara, it would seem that the only reason, according to Chachamim, you do not stone her undressed is why? Because we're chayshish, we're suspectful of her. People are going to see her, or even those stoning her, and have inappropriate thoughts. Ask the Gemara, but if that is at the crux of Machlokes Rav Yehuda Chachamim, we learned the opposite. It's not learned in the Mishnah. This is by a saita. Kayin holds her clothing. Im nikrao. And we explained if they're tore, they tore. Im nifro, niframu. If they become tattered, they become tattered. Ad. They rip her clothing, shemegales liba, until her heart, till her chest, I should say, is revealed. Says the Gemara, v'seiser esaira, and then what happens? Then they literally destroy, they uncover, they unbraid her hair. Rav Yehuda, that's the Chachamim. Rav Yehuda, Aimer, no. If she's a pretty woman, and if we're afraid, says Rabbi Yehuda, that having her chest revealed, it's going to bring someone to hear Hurim. They would not reveal it. No, if she's pretty here, they would not unbraid it. So says the Gemara, you see the exact opposite shitas. See, Rabbi Yehuda is chayshish and the Chachamim are not. Answers the Gemara, Amar Rabba Hasamainu Taima. Over there, in the case of a saita, what is the reason that Rav Yehuda does not allow to uncover the hair? Rav Yehuda does not allow to uncover her chest. Shamateisemi Bezdin Zakah. Because at this point, maybe she actually did not commit the crime. And maybe she'll eventually be found innocent. V'yitkaru ba birchei kahuna. She's not going to be killed, and we have to be worried that the Pirchei Kahuna, the young Kayanim, are going to have inappropriate thoughts that they saw this woman undressed. Whereas by us, says the Gemara, we don't have to be worried. You know why? Hacha kaka mikatla. Over here, Lamaisa, she's being executed. Therefore, there's no worry. Even if there is such a thought, says the Gemara, there's no worry that it could come to anything because she's being stoned. Says the Gemara, wait, says the Gemara, 1 second, I don't understand. What are Hirurim? That the Kohanim will have these inappropriate thoughts, and then what will happen? They're going to come to do other Aveiros. They're going to be Harher, and they're going to come to you with Achrinais, another woman. Amar Rabba Gemiri Ein Yitzhara Shailet Al-Bamish Ein Avrais. Not such a simple teretz to understand. Says the Gemara, the Mitzios Hadavar is the Yitzhahara goes for the one that the eye sees. Therefore, we don't have to be worried that the Stam Yitzhahara will be aroused and cause Aveira. Says the Gemara, that explains Shitas Rabbi Yehuda. Amar Rava, so Rava comes along and he points out, Rabbi Yehuda do the Lakasha. The Rabbana Adrana Lakasha. Was there only a Kasha in Rabbi Yehuda? You just explained to me, Rabbi Yehuda. What about the Rabbanan? Explains the Gemara. Elamar Rava. Rather, Rava explains. The Rabbi Yehuda do the Lakasha Kiddushanina, like we just said. The Rabbanan Nami Lakasha. Why? Amar Kra, says the Pasik. He quotes a Pasik, says the Gemara, to reconcile the Chachamim. V'nivas yukol anashim v'lo yisa'asena kizimaschem. And the woman should get teichacha. They should not act similar to the zima, to the inappropriateness. She is exposed. Why? Because other women will see her in such a manner and be deterred from ever doing something similar. Hacha, that's over there by Saita. Hacha in the Chayiyaser, Gadol Mizad. There's no greater determinant and chastisement from the mere fact that she's being executed. And therefore, in our case, there's not a necessity, says the Gemara, to undress her, according to the Chachamim. But ask me, I want to say, why not? Let us do both. Let it show everyone she's getting killed. and let her be humiliated, so no one will ever even have a hava mina to do such a thing. Amar Rav Nachman, Amar Rav Ravu, Amar Cross says the pasuk v'yafta l'reacha kamoicha, an incredible yisaid. And as much as this woman is chayim misa, still there's a din. You have to love your friend like yourself. And from this din we learn, you know how far v'yafta l'reacha kamoicha goes. Even b'shas misa, baru loy misa yafa. Choose for her or him, the pasuk referring to misa yafa, favorable death. Therefore, we're not going to unnecessarily undress her. According to the Chum. Says the Gemara, Lema de Rav Nachman Tanai. Ask the Gemara, is this din of Rav Nachman, this din of Bar Lamisa Yafeh, is this a Machlokes Tanayim? Is this the debate that we're centering on between Rav Yehuda and Chachamim? Says the Gemara, Loi. Kuli Alma is the Rav Nachman, everyone holds of the din of Misa Yafeh. You know what Machlokes is? Marasavar Bezuni Din Shadifalei Tefei Minicha Digufei Marasavar Nicha Digufei Adif Mibizyoni. Says the Gemara, no, everyone agrees it needs to be a Misa Yafa. You know what the Machlokes is? The Chachamim hold that Bizyuni Dinish degradement Bizyonos is more significant, is Adif than even what one feels the quicker death. Whereas Rav Yehuda holds the comfort of the body is more significant than the own bizyonis, and that's going to be at the crux of the machlekes. Continues the Gemara, quoting the Mishnah on the bottom of Me'am and Aleph. Now we're going to learn, we're actually up to the person is undressed, according to each shita. Now is the act of stoning. Says the Mishnah, Skila, the place of Skila is as high, twice as a person. A 6 for a person, they'll be 12 feet. One of the Eidim push him al masnav by his hips, so fall to the ground on his side. Pleasure. Says the Mishnah, Nafach alibai. Explains the Mishnah, what happens if he falls forwards? So we're pushing him to the side. What happens if he falls onto his front chest? Then he's turned onto his hips. And if he dies in the fall, then that's it. They did skila. If he doesn't die, if he doesn't die, second he picks up a stone and does what? And throws it on his lave. If not, all of Klal Yisrael gets involved. First, the Eidim get involved. To kill him. And everyone gets involved afterwards. If need be, everyone will throw stones at this person. Says the Gemara, Tana, we learned in our Braisa, V'kaima shalai, harei kan shalosh. Says the Gemara, when the Mishnah said, Beis Askilas Gavaya Shtei Kaimais, the Gemara assumes that means his Kaima plus 2 Kaimais. So it's going to be 1 plus 2, it's going to be 3 Kaimais, 3 times the height of man. So not 12 feet like I said, but rather more, 6 for a person will be more like 18 feet. Ask the Gemara, do you need such a height? We learned in our bright, I'll tell you a steer from our Mishnah. So the Mishnah says already at 10 tvachim, it's enough to kill. So why do we need to have 3 heights of a person? We want it to be the quick and painful death. Make him even higher. Mishum de nivel. Says the Gemara, there's a balance. On one hand, we want him to be killed as quickly as possible. On the other hand, we don't want it to become disgusting, his body to splatter. Therefore, we choose the height of 3 kaimais. Says the Gemara, 5 lines to the bottom. One of them pushed him from the side. Tell me where I want it. How do you know that the way that the stoning is done is by dechia, by pushing? Tamulaymar. Yara, says the pasuk, he should be hurled down. Umanayin shebeskila, tamulaymar sakel. Umanayin shebeskila ubedechia, tamulaymar sakel yisakel yira yira. If he dies the first time, it's fine. How do we know this wasn't an isolated pasuk, but rather this is the way for Bezdin for all eternity to perform tskilas? We turn over to Bemeim and Beis explains the Gemara. Talmud lo yimar. That's the double lashon of sakol yisakel. And the Gemara continues on the top line, quoting the next part of the Mishnah. Vim lav irasheni noitel esav. The person does not die from the original being pushed off the mountain. The second aid comes and throws a stone on him. Says the Gemara, noitel. He picks up the stone. Ve'atanya, but the Brisa teaches if Shimon Elazar Aimer, Evan Isa Sham, there was a stone there. Masai Shnei Bnei Adam. It was the weight of two people. Not like you would take it and put it on the chest of the one who's getting killed. What do we see? See that he doesn't pick it up on his own. It's such a large stone. He needs two people to lift it. Replies the Gemara, responds, I don't understand. It itself is share. It says, it says it's the weight of two people, but then it says night law. In the singular would take it. How could that be? Ella, rather, it says the Gemara, Timadli la behadei chavre. No, you have to explain that the eight picks it up along with his other eight. And vishadi la ihu, and then he places it on his own. Kiechi, why? Titesi marzaya. It will come down more forcefully. So they're both lifting, and it's more of like just pushed off by one of them. That's shot in the Mishnah, that's shot in the Brisa, and that's again a way of facilitating that it should go as fast as possible. V'im laver yimutu kol Yisrael, continues the Gemara. V'atanya, 10 lines down. Me'elam lo'ishnana ba'adam. Ask the Gemara. It never happened that a person repeated this procedure of stoning. Says the Gemara, Mikamina David. Answers the Gemara, did I say that actually happened? The Mitzrach Kamina. The Mishnah's meant if it needed. It's theoretical, correct. It never actually happened. But if need be, that is what was done. Amar Marami, go backwards. Evan Isa, going back to the rice we just quoted a few moments ago. This large stone that was there to place on top of the person. V'atanya, asked the Gemara. Achas Evan sheniskal ba, v'achat eis shenitzla lov. Whether the stone that he was stoned with, or the beam which he was hung, v'achat sayiv shenerag ba, or a sword that he's quilled with, v'chasuda shenechach ba, or the handkerchief that he's choked with. Kula nikbarin imai. The implement that is used is buried with the person. So how can you tell me there's this special stone that's there? It's only used once and done. It's buried. Answers the Gemara, Loitzricha. The Bryce is referring to Dimatakni Umaisi Achrina Chulufayu. The Bryce is referring to they were to prepare and bring another one to take its place. And therefore, we now can explain that when the Brisa says that there was a stone there, there was. Was it the same stone? No. Yes, they buried the stone with the person, but they put a new one there. So the next time when they came, there was indeed another stone. There was another stone in its place. Ask the Gemara. The Brisa said that all these items are buried with him. Vatani learned in the Brisa, a different Brisa says that you don't bury it with him. What does that mean? It doesn't mean mamish imo. It means in the area within Dalet Amos of the kever, they would bury these items. Amar Shmuel teaches Shmuel. We're about 12 lines in the wide lines. First word in line is Shmuel. Nikta yada edim potter. Says Shmuel, if one of the edim's hands became cut off before he performs the execution, then the one who is supposed to be chayiv skila is potter. My time, we need to be able to fulfill the passage that says Yad Ha'idim Tiyabav Rishayna. And if they don't have Yadayim Veleka, ask the Gemara Lamiata if that is true. Eidim Gidmin Demikara. If that is true, an Eid that does not have hands from the beginning, Achanami Dipsili, you can tell me that they're possible to be Eidim? Answers Gemara, Shani Asam Damar Kra Yad Ha'Eidim Shaisa Kvar. Whatever hands that they had, those hands have to still be here. If not, then there will be this unique tour. Meisvei asked the Gemara, Kol Makashe Yehudi Shnayim Yamru Meidon Ubish Blaini. Shenegvar Adin Bebezdin. If two people testify that the Negvar Adin was in Bezdin, Blani Edav, Hareze Yara, you could kill based on their Eidos of what happened in a different Bezdin. So what do we see? We see that the same Eidim don't actually have to be there, because they can testify of a din Tair that was. Answer Gemara, Tigumra Shmuel Bahen. Shmuel explains, Behein Hein Eidav. It's only when the same Eidim come to the new Bezdin. Asks the Gemara, I don't understand. Do we need a pasuk to show us? It has to be exactly as the pasuk says. V'atanya, where the pasuk Brisa says, "Mois yumas hamei hamake reiteach hu ein li ela b'misa aksuva boy." Says the pasuk Mois yumas hamake reiteach. From this pasuk we learn out ein li ela misa aksuva by the misa it speaks about. Menayim, where do we know shemi atiyach la misa aksuva by shatam misai? How do we know if you can't kill him with the prescribed death, that we kill him b'chol misa on the first white line, shadiyachla misa? Any way possible, any other method of execution. So ask the Gemara, what do we see? It's true. You want to be able to fulfill the execution in the shpitz in the greatest way possible. But if it's not possible, we do it in any other mannerism. This seems to be a stira to Shmuel. Says the Gemara, Shiny Asam Damar Kra Mos Yumas. The pasuk says Mos Yumas. It's an extra drasha. V'ligmar mina. Learn from it. Answers the Gemara, Misham Navi Rotzeh v'Gol Adam Shnei Ksuvim Habayin Ki Echad. Rotzeh and Gol Adam are Shnei Ksuvim Habayin Ki Echad, and the rule is Shalom Habayin Ki Echad Ein Melamdin. So you cannot learn out from them. That's why we cannot learn to everywhere that any time there's a din of Misa, it does not have to be precise. Elamai, it has to be precise. Says the Gemara, Retzeach Adam and Gol Adam Mahi. What is the pasuk of Gol Adam? The Tani we went to the Brisa Gol Adam Yamis Es HaRetzeach. Says the pasuk the Gol Adam will kill the Retzeach. Mitzvah B'Gol Adam. The mitzvah is for the Gol Adam to kill him. Muminayin Shemein L'Goel Shebezdim Amidim L'Goel Bezdim appoints the Gol Adam Shenemar B'Pagay Ba'im Mikal Makayim, to kill him in any mannerisms. What do we see? We see again that even though it's not the precise way that the Torah said, it's not mamish the Goel Adam, but still Mikal Makayim in any way. So similar to Reitzeach, these are the Shnei Ksuvim Habayim Kecha that teach us that it does not have to be the precise way that the pasuk details. Continues the Gemara, do we not need a pasuk to tell us you do exactly how the pasuk says it? Says the Mishnah with regarding a ben tzayir or mayir, if one of them is missing a hand, mute, lame, blind, deaf. Why? Shenamar. The pasuk says, "V'savsu by," and they have to grab him. V'lo gidmin, not if they don't have hands. V'oitzio, so they take him out. V'lo chigrin, and not if he can't walk. V'amru, and they said, v'lo yilman, not if they're mute. B'nei nuzeh, this child, v'lo yisumin, if you can't see him. And then he doesn't listen to the voice of the parents. V'lo chershin, and not if they are deaf. So my time, what is the reason that we go with the precise pasuk? La misham debinan kra kidichsev. So seemingly we see that we need a pasuk to prove us that the way the pasuk says it is the way it has to be done to the T. Mamish like Shmuel says, Loy. Shiny Asna to Kule Kreis here. The whole pasuk is extra. So if you have an entire extra pasuk, then of course you learn from it, but not necessarily is it going to be the same by us. Tashema wal Nesraya ein la rachai if there's no public square. Nasas ir nidacha ein nasas ir nidachas. The city cannot become ir nidachas. Why? Because there's no place to burn everything that the pasuk says. You bring it out to the rachai and burn it. They're very small. Kiva in the Rechav. Isla Rechav, make a public square. Ad Kalnopli Gil the Mars of Rechav the make Karabin on the same original public square, the same Rechav. Omar Savar, Rechav Dash and Nami can make Kardami, it's the same thing. Of the Kuli Alma, Karkidach Sev. But everyone is seemingly holds that you have to do exactly as the pasuk says. So much so, you don't have a Rechav, there's not even no din of Yarnich Dachas. Answers the Gemara that it's true that this Bryce is like Shmuel, but Tanai, it's a machlekes Tanaim, others disagree. Titanan, ein la bahen, ein len bayin yad, bayin regulars, and imanis. If the Mitzayer doesn't have a thumb, the big toe, the big ear right here, ein la tayer lamas, he can never come to Rav Lezer, man, no, nice and al makaimai. Doesn't have to be precise on the same area. V'yaitze, and it's the of Shevanai, nice and al smala v'yaitze. So you see clearly there's different Tanaim as to whether they hold mamish like Shmuel, that it has to be precise the same or not. And that's going to be the machlekes Tanaim. We'll pick it up in the Mishnah. B'siyata dishmai.